3 months ago, I had 47,000 Instagram followers who thought I was living the dream. Designer clothes, exotic vacations, a successful marketing career, and a gorgeous boyfriend who surprised me with flowers every Friday. My feed was a carefully curated paradise of success, romance, and adventure that made people comment things like, "Goals AF," and, "How is your life so perfect, the truth?" I was broke, single, unemployed, and hadn't left my studio apartment in 2 weeks except to buy ramen noodles with loose change I found in my couch cushions. My name is Jessica, I'm 28, and for 18 months I lived the most elaborate online lie you can imagine. What started as innocent social media embellishment turned into a full-time job of deception that nearly destroyed my mental health and cost me friendships, family relationships, and any sense of who I actually was beneath the filters and fabrications. I'm sharing this story because I know I'm not alone. In a world where social media success seems to equal life success, too many of us are trading our authentic selves for likes, followers, and the hollow validation of strangers who don't actually know us at all. The fake life started innocently enough. I was going through a rough patch in early 2023, laid off from my entry-level marketing job, fresh out of a painful breakup, struggling to make rent on a depressing apartment in a city where I barely knew anyone. My social media had become a wasteland of cancelled plans, takeout containers, and Netflix screenshots. Meanwhile, my college friends were posting engagement announcements, job promotions, and vacation photos that made my life look pathetic by comparison. The contrast was devastating. Every time I opened Instagram, I felt like a failure. That's when I posted the first lie. It was a photo of a latte and croissant at an upscale cafe, captioned, "Morning meetings for the new project. Hot beverage #entrepreneur #blessed #working hard, the truth?" I'd walked past that cafe, taken a photo through the window, and eaten a Pop-Tart at home while sending out job applications. But the response was immediate and intoxicating. Suddenly, people were commenting with congratulations, asking about my new project, treating me like I was successful. The dopamine hit was incredible. So I posted another lie. And another. Within weeks, I'd created an entire fictional life. The construction of my fake identity was methodical and exhausting. I spent hours researching luxury locations online, finding photos that looked like they could be mine. I learned to recognize designer brands, studied lifestyle bloggers to copy their aesthetic, and created elaborate backstories for every post. My fictional boyfriend, Marcus, was a composite of 3 different guys from dating apps who'd ghosted me. I used photos from their profiles, carefully cropped to hide faces, creating this mysterious romantic figure who was always just out of frame. He's camera shy, I'd tell people who asked why I never showed his face. For my fake career, I claimed to be a digital marketing consultant, working with high-end lifestyle brands. It sounded impressive and vague enough that people didn't ask for specifics. I'd post photos of generic office buildings, claiming they were client meetings, and share work lunches that were actually photos I'd taken of other people's meals at restaurants I couldn't afford. The vacation posts were the most elaborate deceptions. I'd spend entire days at hotel lobbies, taking photos by pools I wasn't staying at, in restaurants I couldn't afford to eat at. I'd research luxury destinations obsessively, learning enough details to answer questions about my trips convincingly. The financial cost of maintaining this lie was destroying me. I maxed out credit cards buying outfits for photos, paying for expensive coffee shop visits to get the right backdrop, taking Ubers to locations where I could create content for my fake life. I was spending money I didn't have to convince people I had money to spend. But the followers kept growing. Brands started reaching out for collaborations. People I'd lost touch with were sliding into my DMs, wanting to reconnect with someone whose life looked so enviable. The validation was addictive, even though I knew it was based on complete fiction. The psychological toll was enormous. I was living a double life that required constant vigilance. I kept elaborate notes about my lies, which trips I'd supposedly taken when, details about Marcus, made up work projects. I was terrified of being caught in contradictions. Sleep became impossible. I'd lie awake at night paralyzed by anxiety, convinced that tomorrow would be the day someone would expose me. I stopped accepting invitations to real social events because I was afraid people would realize my actual life didn't match my online persona. The loneliness was crushing. I was surrounded by thousands of online admirers but had no real friends, no authentic connections. How could I? Every relationship was built on lies. I couldn't tell people what was really happening in my life because it would destroy the illusion I'd worked so hard to create. My family was concerned but confused. They'd see my Instagram posts and assume I was thriving, but when they called, I sounded depressed and isolated. I couldn't explain the disconnect without admitting to the massive deception. The first crack in my perfect facade came 6 months ago during a family wedding. My cousin Sarah, who followed me on Instagram, was excited to finally meet Marcus and hear about my consulting business. I'd been so deep in the lie that I'd forgotten she might expect consistency between my online and offline life. "So where's Marcus tonight?" she asked immediately. "Oh, he had a work emergency. Last-minute client crisis. I improvise." "That sucks. What kind of work does he do again?" I panicked. I'd never created a backstory for Marcus's career. "He's in finance. Investment banking. Very demanding schedule." Sarah nodded, but I caught her looking at me strangely throughout the night. Later, I overheard her telling another cousin, "Jess seems different. Like, really stressed." And she was super vague about her boyfriend and her work. That conversation haunted me. I realized people who knew me in real life were starting to notice the inconsistencies between my online presence and my actual behavior. The second major crack came when a former coworker, Mike, commented on one of my work lunch posts. "Wait, isn't that the restaurant in downtown Phoenix? I thought you lived in Seattle now?" I'd used a photo from a Phoenix food blogger, not realizing Mike would recognize the location. I quickly deleted his comment and blocked him, but the damage was done. I spent hours paranoid that other people had seen his comment before I could remove it. The anxiety was consuming my life. I was spending 4 or 5 hours daily maintaining my fake online presence, finding photos, crafting captions, responding to comments in character. It was a full-time job that paid nothing and was slowly driving me insane. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in November. I was broke, hungry, and desperately behind on rent. In a moment of weakness, I posted a GoFundMe link on my Instagram story, claiming I was raising money for a friend's medical emergency. The friend didn't exist. I was trying to crowdfund my rent while maintaining my successful persona. Within hours, my high school friend Amanda had donated $200 and shared my story. Then other people started donating. Strangers were sending me money based on my fabricated crisis, and I felt like the worst person alive. But I took the money. I paid my rent with donations from people who thought they were helping a fictional sick person. The guilt was unbearable, but I was too deep in the lie to find a way out. That night, I got a DM that changed everything. "Hey Jess, this is Amanda's sister Katie. I'm a nurse at Phoenix General, and I've been trying to find information about your friend's medical situation so I can help connect you with resources. Can you give me their name and which hospital they're at?" My blood went cold. Amanda had told her sister, who was trying to help with a medical emergency that didn't exist. Katie was a healthcare professional offering to use her connections to help my fictional friend. I stared at that message for 3 hours, knowing I had reached a point where I had to choose: come clean or drag more innocent people into my web of lies. I chose the truth. I started with Amanda, calling her directly instead of responding to Katie's message. Amanda, I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear me out before you hang up. The conversation was the hardest 15 minutes of my life. I told her everything: the faked career, the non-existent boyfriend, the made-up emergencies, the fact that her donation had paid my rent, not helped a sick friend. Amanda was quiet for a long time after I finished. Finally, she said, "Jess, I'm hurt, but I'm also worried about you. What you're describing sounds like you need help, not judgment." Her response broke me completely. I sobbed on the phone, apologizing over and over, expecting her to hate me. Instead, she asked if I had anyone to talk to, if I was safe, if I needed her to help me find a therapist. That phone call gave me the courage to come clean completely. I crafted the most difficult Instagram post of my life. No filters, no perfect lighting, just me in my messy apartment with swollen eyes and complete honesty. I need to tell you all something important. For the past 18 months, I've been lying to you. About my job, my relationship status, my lifestyle, my travels, basically everything. I created a fictional life because I was ashamed of my real one, and it spiraled completely out of control. I explained everything: the financial desperation, the mental health impact, the lies about Marcus, the fake career, even the GoFundMe deception. I announced that I was donating every penny I'd received back to legitimate medical charities and taking a break from social media to get professional help. The response was swift and brutal. I lost 23,000 followers in 48 hours. Comments ranged from supportive, "Thank you for being honest. This takes courage," to savage, "You're a pathetic liar and fraud." Several influencers I'd connected with publicly distanced themselves from me. But something unexpected happened too. Hundreds of people reached out privately to thank me for my honesty. They shared their own struggles with social media pressure, their own temptations to embellish or lie, their own feelings of inadequacy when comparing their real lives to others' highlight reels. A surprising number admitted to their own social media deceptions: fake relationships, exaggerated career success, fabricated social lives. My confession had given them permission to be honest about their own struggles with authenticity online. The rebuilding process has been slow and humbling. I spent 3 months in therapy, working through the underlying issues that made me so desperate for external validation that I was willing to live a complete lie. I moved back in with my parents temporarily, got a part-time job at a local bookstore, and slowly started rebuilding my life without the pressure of maintaining a perfect image. I deleted Instagram entirely for 2 months, relearning how to exist without constantly documenting and curating my experiences. When I finally returned to social media, it was with a completely different approach. I post maybe once a week, always honestly. My follower count is down to 3,200, but these are people who follow the real me: messy apartment, bad hair days, job struggles, and all. I've started speaking at local colleges about social media literacy and the mental health impacts of living for online validation. My story resonates with students who are growing up in an environment where their worth feels tied to their online presence. The most valuable lesson I learned is that authenticity isn't just about being honest with others, it's about being honest with yourself. I'd become so disconnected from my real thoughts, feelings, and experiences that I'd lost any sense of who I actually was beneath the performance. Recovery meant relearning how to find value in private moments that nobody would ever see, celebrate small victories that weren't worth posting about, and build relationships based on genuine connection rather than impressive content. I'm still rebuilding trust with family and friends who feel hurt by my deceptions. Some relationships didn't survive, people who feel too betrayed to continue our friendship. I understand their decision, even though it's painful. But other relationships have become stronger than ever. Amanda and I are closer now than we were before my confession. She says my honesty about my struggles made her feel comfortable sharing her own challenges, and our friendship is built on authenticity rather than comparison. My mental health has improved dramatically since stopping the exhausting performance of fake perfection. I sleep better, feel less anxious, and am slowly learning to find satisfaction in real accomplishments rather than fabricated ones. I'm not saying social media is inherently evil or that everyone who posts positive content is lying. But I want people to understand how easy it is to fall into the trap of living for likes, for external validation, for the approval of strangers who don't actually know or care about your well-being. The pressure to appear successful, happy, and enviable online is enormous, especially for young people who are still figuring out their identities. But the cost of maintaining a fake perfect life is much higher than the temporary discomfort of being honest about your struggles. Your real life, with all its messiness and imperfection, is worth more than 1,000 fake perfect posts. The people who truly care about you want authenticity, not performance. And the validation that comes from being genuinely seen and accepted for who you actually are is infinitely more valuable than likes from people who only know your carefully constructed persona. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself in my story, please consider getting help before it goes as far as mine did. Talk to someone you trust. Consider therapy. Take breaks from social media. Remember that everyone else is also struggling behind their perfect posts. What looks like a perfect life online is often just someone who's gotten really good at hiding their pain. Don't trade your authentic self for a beautiful lie. It's never worth it. The most radical thing you can do on social media in 2025 is simply be real.